Hey folks, it's John with KGTropicals.com. What do you do when there's something wrong in one of your aquariums and you've tried everything you know how to do to fix that problem and nothing has worked? You've gone on every forum, you've read every article, you've talked to every fish keeper that you know, you've tried everything and nothing seems to work. Well, I'm going to tell you over the course of the next several videos how I am going to handle a scenario like that, because yes, I have a scenario like that happening with me right now with this tank. And I hit my boiling point this morning where I decided, you know what? I have to do something. I have to go to extremes. I've got to get to the bottom of this. And there's only one way that I know how to do this. Now, as a YouTuber, one of the downsides to being a YouTuber that documents everything about a particular hobby on YouTube is when something like this happens, you can't just do it and expect nobody to say anything. People are going to notice, hey, what's going on? Why did you do this? Why is that moved? What's happening there? People are going to notice. So rather than trying to hide it or rather than skirting around it, I'm going to embrace it and I'm going to look at this as an opportunity for all of us to learn something here. I mean, we're all going to run into this scenario eventually. It's not the first time I've run into this. It's not the first time I've handled the scenario like I'm going to handle it. This is something that happens to fish keepers. You have that happen where you get to the point where you're like, I don't know what to do. And this, what I'm going to do with this tank is kind of a foolproof way to guarantee that the problem is going to go away. But first, I guess we got to talk about the problem itself. So what is the problem that I'm having with this tank? Well, it started several months ago. We, out of nowhere, lost a discus. And that, if you've ever had a discus tank, or actually it should be this way with any fish tank, but with discus, I don't know, there's something different about it. But when a discus dies, it's like, oh no. You know, it's almost like a family member dying. That was devastating. And of course, as a fish keeper, I started looking, why? Why did that fish die? What's happening? What do I need to do to make sure none of the other fish die? And I got onto a strict routine of maintenance and medications and all of these things to make sure that nothing happened to any of the other fish. And they were all fine. And then a few weeks later, boom, another one drops out of nowhere. It's like, oh my God, here we go again. And so I kept going through this cycle where I would get everything stabilized and then it would just fall apart again. Get it stabilized, fall apart again. And that's, this morning I hit my boiling point. I didn't have a fish die, but I had a fish this morning when I woke up, had a puffy eye with white fuzz coming out of it. And you know what that means. So it's like, all right, that's it. I've had enough. We're down to 7 discus. I don't want to lose anymore. I am going to go to extremes and I'm going to take care of this. Now, what do I think the problem is? I don't know. Do you want me to make something up? I'm going to be honest with you folks. I don't know what it is. I've tried every medication. I'm not going to go through the list of the brands and the different types because I don't feel like getting into a medication debate. But I tried everything. Completely taking the filter apart and cleaning it out, putting new media in there, replacing sponges. I've tried everything that I've learned over the last 25 years of keeping fish, and nothing's worked. So I don't know what the problem is. I'm being honest with you. I mean, that's just the way I am. I don't know what it is. And there's only one way, as far as I'm concerned, when you have a situation like this where you just don't know what the problem is, you eliminate everything and you start from scratch. Don't get scared. I'm not talking about killing all of the fish. I've heard of people doing that in the past where you have a facility full of fish and something goes through there and they just wipe everything out and start over. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm not killing these discus. That's crazy. But I'm talking about, as far as the tank goes, scrapping it. I shouldn't say scrapping it because I'm not throwing anything away, but tearing everything down and completely starting over again. Now, the first thing that you're going to ask is, but wait a minute, John, if you do that, if you take that down and you really scrub it out and thoroughly clean out everything, it's going to have to cycle again. You can't. Well, I know that. And this is why we have these tanks right here. This whole series of videos that I'm going to do that hopefully doesn't end in devastation, but this is all going to be a great example of how having spare tanks, backup tanks, hospital tanks, quarantine tanks, I don't care what you want to call them, having other tanks that you can use for circumstances like this is absolutely critical. If you have multiple tanks like I do, you should always have a backup plan. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put all of the fish and the plants into that tank right there. There's only 7 discus left. It's a 55, big filtration. We'll be fine. They'll be fine in that tank. I'm going to put them all in there. I'm going to get them settled, get them stabilized, medicate that tank, and then once they're in there and they're settled, this thing right here is getting completely torn down. I'm going to take everything out of it. I'm going to completely scrub everything out of it. I'm not going to sanitize it with bleach and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go that far, but I'm going to scrub the wood, the gravel. I'm just going to replace the gravel. I'm not going to mess with the gravel, but new substrate. The wood is going to get thoroughly scrubbed out and dried out completely. The equipment, the filter, completely take it apart as far as a Fluval FX6 can be taken apart. That's what I'm going to do. Completely clean everything out, and I'm going to let everything completely dry out to where there is nothing left living in that tank at all. And I'm probably going to let it sit for a week or two, just bone dry. Let everything die, let everything dry out, and then I'm going to scrub it all again. And then I'm going to let it dry it out again, and then I'm going to fill it back up and just completely start over with the same equipment, because the equipment's all functional. I don't know if there's some type of bacteria or something in that equipment, which I'll be cleaning out. I don't know if that's what's causing it, but the equipment is not going to be new, but everything inside of the equipment, I'm going to get new media, new sponges, new everything in the FX6, all of it is going to be completely starting over from scratch. And I'm going to document all of this. So there's a lot of things that you can get out of a series like this. One is how to solve a problem. Two is how to not hide a problem on YouTube, because I could hide it. I could put my camera like this and I could just, but I'm not going to do that. First of all, that end of the room looks like crap, but there's a lot of ways that I could try to hide this problem, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to share it all with you, because I really do feel like this is something that could serve as a good learning experience for everybody. So come along with this journey, or on this journey with me. What I hope to happen with this is, in the end, it might take a month and a half or so, because yes, I'm going to have to let everything cycle again, but what I hope is that when we get there, the fish will be thrilled to be back in their home and not be sick in their home. And we'll add 4 or 5 more discus back into there, and everything will be glorious and everybody will be happy. That is how this is going to have a happy ending, is fish are back in there, they're healthy, they're fat and happy. There's no more whatever it is in the tank that's killing them, and we'll add some more discus, and that'll be a happy ending to the whole thing. So come along with me. Today, I'm going to go ahead and start off with moving the fish. We're going to start tearing this thing down. I'm going to go ahead and film that for you, show you everything that I'm doing with it, and hopefully by the end of this, we've all learned something. We've learned how, when you feel like you're at your wit's end, there still is something you can do. It's extreme and it's a lot of work, but hey, these fish, they're absolutely worth it. All right, so let's tear this tank down. Let's get it down to nothing. We're gonna wipe the slate clean and start completely over again. This tank's been running for about 7 years, and it's probably due for a total makeover. Everything is running functionally. It's okay, but there's, like I said, there's just something in here that has to go. And in order to figure out what that is, I'm not gonna figure out what it is. I'm gonna wipe the slate clean. I'm gonna start completely over again. So not a whole lot to learn here, other than, watching this whole process go down. I am, I want to share this whole thing with you here. I don't want to hide anything. It's just, we're gonna document everything. So moving the fish, moving the plants, and of course, when you find yourself in a situation where everything just seems to be going wrong, of course you're going to run into scenarios where things go from bad to worse, and this happens.
As friends of Jack, it's an appreciation for people and things that stay true to themselves. Just as Jack did.
Are you okay?
Yeah, don't come down here. There's glass on the floor.
Because the things
just dropped something and it broke.
Did it take?
No, it was one of the lids.
Are the things that set us apart.
Hands were slippery. Yeah, I guess the saying is true. When it rains, it pours. But anyway, put that on the list of just another thing that I need to purchase to get this project back up and running again. The lid was wet. My hands were wet. It slipped out of my hands. What are you going to do? It's the second time I cleaned up glass that day. We're not going to talk about what happened the first time. But anyway, so again, this is just a tear down of the tank, getting everything out, moving the fish, trying to be as gentle as possible. Some of them didn't want to cooperate getting out of the net, but There's 7 discus in there right now, including one that is having a problem currently with his eyes. Hopefully we can get him to snap out of that, and we can, you know, move forward, and we won't lose him too. That's him there, the Marlboro Red. He's got a puffy eye, and you know, we're medicating him, so hopefully he will come around. So at this point here, I'm just getting the siphon tube in to start getting things to drain all the way out. Now, I've got 12 cardinals in there, and you know, a 6-foot long tank, trying to get cardinals out is almost impossible to do. So what I did was I waited until the tank was drained almost all of the way. That way they didn't have much space to run from me, and it was made them much easier to catch. So this is, you know, the start of a major overhaul of this tank. The next video that I do is going to be dismantling the filter and just completely cleaning the filter out, starting from scratch on the filter, and getting this whole thing running once again, brand new. Start the cycling process. I'm going to replace the substrate. We're going to replace everything, make this tank brand new again. And, you know, there's no way the problem will not be resolved if we do that. So here we are with the fish in their new temporary home. It's a 55-gallon tank with big filtration, got that Cobalt EXT filter on there. So they've got a nice little spot to rest in until the 125 is ready again. Here is the Marlboro Red with that infected eye. Going to be treating him with some antibiotics, and we're going to hope to save him. When you have problems with discus or angels or any of these thin type fish, in my experience, the eyes are so close to the brain that these infections can go south very fast. So I've got my fingers crossed. Hopefully we can medicate him enough to, you know, get him to come back from that. I don't know. I've not had the best success with eye situations in the past. But everybody, say a prayer for the little guy, and hopefully he'll snap out of it. I know it might seem ridiculous, but this was actually filmed a couple days after the move, and the plants already seem to be bouncing back. I know that sounds crazy because they look so brown and all of that. Most of that is algae, but they definitely seem to be more upright, and the plants, they just seem to be happier in this environment over the last one. So, you know, I've got my fingers crossed on them too. Going to be spending a lot of money on aquariumcoop.com to replace those plants if they don't work out. I don't think all of them are going to make it. The 2 smaller Java ferns there on the right, at least, or are they Anubias? I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know plants yet, but I don't know that they're going to make it because I think they might be too far gone. So again, have to spend some money at Aquarium Co-op, but you know, it is what it is. This situation was bad. It got worse, and it just continued to get worse. So I'm at my wit's end. I have no other choice but to go to extremes. Hopefully you will follow along with me and go through this journey with me. I think that we could all learn something from this. I think that, you know, living vicariously through me with these situations, you know, we can take a problem that is at its worst, and we can get through it. We can get through it together. That is the whole purpose of me documenting all of this. Once again, I could have hid it from you. I could have just acted like it didn't happen and played it off in the videos, but I don't think we'd learn anything that way. I certainly would, but we wouldn't as a group be able to learn from it. So, makes sense. You know what? Let's start over again. Let's go to extremes. Let's do it together. And in the end, if everybody's happy and the fish are healthy and I've got a nice thriving tank out of it, then we all win. So I hope you'll stick around for this entire process. If you're not subscribed to the channel, you're definitely going to want to do that, because you'll get a notification when I put the next part of this series out. And of course, you'll also get a notification when I go live on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I answer your questions directly and have a lot of special guests on. So having a lot of fun with this channel right now, even though it's kind of dark times because of what we have going on with this tank. I think that this is actually going to turn out to be something that's a positive, and I hope you look at it that way too. So there we go. That is part 1. Like I said earlier, we'll go with the filtration next time. We'll start over, and I'm going to take you along this journey with me. So thank you so much for watching. Say a prayer for me, folks, and I look forward to talking to you again next time.